All right, guys, how we doing? We're the Beanie Boys. It's our first podcast. Bear with us a little bit. A little nervous. Got some nerves going on here. I'm Zach. And this is DP. And then I'm going to pass it to my boy JP in Minnesota.
What's up, guys? I'm Johnny. I'm out here in Minnesota. Colts Vikings tonight, Sunday Night Football. Mackie, what's the bourbon out there in Cincinnati today, brother?
So bourbon of the day, we're just gonna go classic Woodford Double Oak today. It's kind of early, can't get into the high proof stuff here.
All right, Mac. So looking into the week, this past weekend, we had a couple games that I really thought that this weekend was going to be a bad weekend of college football. Wasn't much excitement there except for the obvious one of Penn State and Ohio State, and that lived up to the hype in the first half, I believe. A little boring in the second half. Johnny's a Buckeyes fan. He was obviously fired up for that big win out in Penn State. But, Johnny, ultimately, how do you think your team played?
So I would say that good enough. James Franklin, there's always been that theory that he can't win the big game. Same with Ryan Day. Both of them, I think James Franklin was 1-9 against top 5 opponents going into that game. And Ryan Day also just hasn't won the big game. He's lost to Michigan 3 years in a row. So I think something had to break or something had to bend and something had to be solved there. I think overall sloppy, ugly game. Something that really stood out to me was Will Howard's legs. He had 12 carries for 24 yards, which on the stat sheet's not great, but a lot of those were gritty yards. He had 2 huge third down conversions in the fourth quarter to put the game away and then the ball in their hands. Brandon Ennis, Ohio State wide receiver. He's a sophomore. Breakout game. He only had 2 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown, but those were 2 huge catches. I mean, if he's not playing in that game, he stepped up in a big way. I thought, they got the superstar in Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka. They were double covering him, so Brandon Ennis stepped up, and I think he did very well for the Buckeyes yesterday. And then Quinshon Judkins, 14 carries for 95 yards. He just smash mouth football, Ohio State football. It was just a Big Ten battle, a Big Ten clash, and huge win for Ohio State.
Yeah, I think they did look really good, especially on defense. The crucial downs, third and short, the defense was making plays right before the end of the half. That huge play by that defensive back just to save a touchdown, and ultimately momentum in that game was also big. What do you think, DP?
Yeah. John, let me ask you a question here, being Ohio State. Do you think that game being at noon had a factor? Really wasn't a whiteout at Penn State, the nighttime environment. What do you think about that?
I do believe that then it would have been better as a night game atmosphere, but at the same time, it doesn't matter what time you line them up. It's a top 5 matchup, Big Ten championship, dreams alive, college football playoff dreams, everything that both teams, everything was right ahead of them. And at the end of the day, you're going to line them up, put the pads on, whatever time it is, whatever time of the day it is. So if it's not a top 5 matchup, yeah, it's going to be tough to get going, especially on an 11 a.m. kickoff. But the night game would have been cool. The whiteout would have been awesome to see. But at the end of the day, I mean, line up the pads, and I think the better team won.
I like it. Mac, we all don't like that Johnny's an Ohio State fan. I hate it. We both hate it. Notre Dame, Irish over here. What did you think about that game?
I mean, I just have one takeaway from the game, and I understand he was banged up all week, but Drew Aller stinks. He's not good at football. They had no offensive touchdowns. I understand Ohio State's defense is really good and all that, but what a disappointing performance on a massive stage.
To kind of chime in on what Mackie just said, Drew Aller's QBR yesterday, 29.2.
Yeah, it's not good, obviously. I mean, that's lower than AR's, and that's hard to do.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort to do that.
Hey, look for Penn State to turn the page with everything still out in front of them to Bo Prabula. He's a runner. He can throw the ball a little bit, and I look for them to turn the page on Drew Aller because everything for them still out in front of them, especially with the 12-team playoff.
I love it. So we're gonna turn the page a little bit here and talk about Curt Cignetti. I mean, are we serious? These boys in red and white. These boys in red and white are legit.
He's got the boys playing down there in Bloomington, man. It's actually a show.
It's amazing. I mean, just a totally different culture. after just like graduating last year and just going down there for one game and seeing the environment, it was insane. But how about them Hoosiers, undefeated?
10-0, didn't flinch. Didn't flinch, not an inch. You take your experienced quarterback, Rourke goes right down the field. I think it was a 7 or 8 play drive, and you just score a touchdown. Don't look back from there. Curtis Rourke, I say 19 of 29, 263 yards, 4 touchdowns with a 90 QBR. I mean, Taven stepped in last week. He got the job done. He did what he had to do. But you got your star quarterback back this week, and you saw how legit that Hoosiers offense is.
Right, and Michigan State being a very run-heavy offense, I thought our defensive line and defense on the run was very good. I mean, we're ranked 4th in the nation against the run, which is obviously very good. But it was the first time that the Hoosiers had given up any points in the first quarter. I mean, this year. I mean, that's a crazy stat. Just thinking about that.
First time they trailed in a game was when they were trailing 3-0.
Really crazy. I mean, up 10-0 early, and then the Hoosiers put up 47 scoreless after that. I mean,
yeah.
Kirk Netty has a switch, and we've seen it this Saturday. What do you think, kid?
One thing with Kurt, I love the engagement with the fans. After every game, goes over to the students or goes over to the fans, even at away games, sitting there leading the Go IU on 3, 1, 2, 3, Go IU, Go IU. I think that thing is awesome. Being able to get the fans to buy into this program, something that really has never happened down there at IU. And these boys are sitting there rolling. I love it. I'm glad Curtis Rourke was able to come back, after the thumb injury. And 4 touchdowns coming back after your first game with thumb injury, so impressive. It's awesome.
It is. So, Mac, you being a Kentucky grad, you were a Hoosier until your freshman year of college. You were still a hybrid. How good does it feel to see the Hoosiers have a football culture?
It's pretty good to see. Unfortunately, I'll say one thing. Curt Cignetti's going to look great on the Florida Gators sideline next year.
I got something in that game that really stood out to me when I was looking over it and I watched it back a little bit. The amount of guys that are getting carries for the Hoosiers, just healthy bodies rolling in between Ellison, Price, Lawton. I mean, Miles Price, the receiver, and I think he had 6-7 carries yesterday. Just jet sweeps, just Big Ten football, and it's good to see that they got the pass game and the run game. It's going to be very hard to stop. Big one in Columbus coming up on November 23rd.
Right, and we're going to get into that, and I just want to get you guys' thoughts on if the Hoosiers go 11-1 with a loss in Columbus, is that enough to get them in at this point? What do you think?
I think that their only competition there is the Canes. Miami has looked great and looked bad at sometimes. They probably won a few games that they probably shouldn't have, Virginia Tech being one of them. So I think ultimately that's going to come down to, them winning the ACC. Maybe if they see Clemson in the ACC championship, you're dealing with Miami, Clemson. Miami could be 12-1-ish, 11-1 as well with IU. So I think it could be between those two teams.
Yeah. Mac, I do also have a question. I mean, obviously we know that Indiana's strength of schedule hasn't been the toughest this year, but ultimately there's other ranked teams that are winning games by 3 to 7 points against opponents that they should be blowing out. Now, IU hasn't won a game by less than 14 points this year. Does that matter? To the committee, do you think that matters? And I'm tired of the IU slander of they're not playing opponents when they are just significantly beating them every single game. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I think it finally does matter. It didn't matter in the past. They made a mistake and put TCU in the playoff, and then I get it, they beat Michigan that year and whatever, but that was the worst national championship game in the history of mankind. And they would constantly get bailed out and win games on the last possession. And I think they learned from that last year. They stuck Alabama in there. The games were more competitive, and I don't see why they wouldn't do that again this year. If it were to come down to a one-loss Tennessee team or one-loss Indiana team, I think it's a no-brainer. You go with Indiana.
John, what do you think, buddy?
So I think kind of how DP talked about Miami. I think that's interesting. But the one thing that stands out to me more than anything is the Big 12 conference, because you have an undefeated BYU team, and Kansas State they lost yesterday to a very bad Houston team. I mean, it's just there's only right now you're looking at arguably Iowa State, bad loss yesterday. You're looking at arguably
Clemson,
BYU
bad
being your
loss.
home. What's up?
Clemson with a bad loss.
Yeah, Clemson, bad loss. So you're just looking at, other than if Miami or BYU drop a game, you could possibly have two very subpar conference champions as top 4 teams in the playoff, which is tough because I think the Big Ten's loaded. My 2 best teams in the country right now, and they played each other, and it was a 1-point game on the road, are Oregon and Ohio State, and they're the same conference. And it's just tough because, you almost want to say like Big Ten, SEC. It just, between those 2 conferences, I just think they're totally different than the ACC and the Big 12.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Georgia with a dogfight with Florida on a neutral site. Like, is that concerning for Kirby, do you guys think?
With a third-string
quarterback.
That's what I mean. It was just, just watching that game, it felt all Gators until late in that matchup.
Carson Beck better wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get to watch all of that game, but it felt like the momentum of the game was primarily in the Gators' hands, and Georgia found a way to win a football game. That's what good teams do. But ultimately, is Carson Beck going to be able to play in those high-pressure situations against those big dogs that have guys that are just as good as them on the other side of the ball? What do you think, Mac?
Well, we've seen it. I think he can, but he has 11 picks in the last 5 games now. I don't know if he's just in a rut and you need to break out of it or whatever the case might be, because I don't think he's a bad quarterback by any means. He's very good for what he is in that offense. He knows how to read a defense. I think he's just in a rut and he's overthinking it a little bit. But I was surprised to see him come out and have that performance today after the big win at Texas, which he still threw 2 picks, but he made some big time throws and he won the game.
DP, what's your thoughts on Carson Beck?
Yeah, I just think that, statistically, it's probably not what you want to see as a Georgia Bulldog fan. 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Turn the ball over a little bit too much. I understand some of those are coming against Texas and Bama, but 3 picks versus Florida, 2 versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State might be the worst team in the SEC, and you're still turning the ball over versus them. Yes, you threw for 460 yards, but it's just still things that can't happen as, the quarterback of what could be the best team in the college football. So I just think that their offense will implode eventually with him turning the ball over too much. I just think that turnover issues with Carson Beck could be the downfall of Georgia come playoff time.
Last thing to wrap up some college football here. I guess 2 things. Can we talk about Vanderbilt? That team is just so inspiring to watch in that tough SEC conference, obviously. But Pavia, this kid doesn't know how to lose. He loves being the underdog, and I love an underdog story. John, what do you think?
Dude, swagger, absolute swagger. He was at New Mexico last year. He beat Auburn at New Mexico, and guess what? He's still doing it at Vandy. And this Vandy team, man, everyone talks about, how did Alabama lose to him? It ain't that Alabama lost to him. Vanderbilt beat him. They just flat out, they won the game. They had the ball in their hands, and they did not give it back to Alabama. That was awesome. And that started it. And then you go and you play a very, very, very good Texas game, and you battle. You're in it the whole game. You got a chance to win the game at the end. This team, it's good for the SEC to see Vanderbilt good because, they've been the joke of the conference for a very long time. So I don't know if you guys saw what Nick Saban said on College Game Day about Vanderbilt not having any fans, but I think he ate his words there.
DP, would you like that on that?
Yeah, this kid Pavia is so inspirational. You go down, you beat Bama, and then you go party in Nashville. Nothing better, bringing the goalpost down. It's absurd what he's doing, but now he has a test. He's home versus South Carolina. Could be a winnable game. Then they travel to Death Valley and LSU, and then they host Tennessee at home. So we'll see if he has any more magic left in him. I think it's a great story, but we'll see how much magic Clark Lee has left in his hands.
Yeah, obviously, with those 3 games, that's no walk in the park. 3 losable games for sure for Vanderbilt, but we know how that kid works. He's got like a magic stick. He's a magician. He finds ways to beat the books, and we love that, And ultimately, I don't know. I mean, I'm a big Vandy. I'm on the train with Vanderbilt, and I'm on the train with Pavia. Mac, what do you see in this kid that separates him from other quarterbacks across the country?
Well, he's gritty. He's old. He has experience. He's getting all the praise, and it's rightfully so. He's been a fantastic quarterback, but people just forget that Jerry Kill's a fantastic football coach, man. He was at Minnesota, had some medical issues, and had to retire, and it was good to see him come back. And he went over to New Mexico State, found this Diego Pavia kid, brought him to Vanderbilt with them, and boom, here we go. They're going bowling. It's really been fun to watch.
Just a little note, Vanderbilt was 7.5-point underdogs going into that game yesterday.
Yeah, and they got the job done. That's just what they do. That's their motto. Get it done, I feel like. I mean, if they don't have that somewhere in their locker room, get it done or like beat the odds, because that's just what they are. They're underdogs in almost every single game in like I said, that high-powered SEC conference, but these guys win, and they just figure out a game plan or a good scheme to just beat the opponents, and it's, like I said, it's real good to see, and we just need more teams like that because I feel like for most of our lives, we've had 4 teams that have just ran the country in football, and it's good to see some different teams showing some different competition levels and stuff like that. But to wrap things up for our college football segment, JP is going to show us his or give us his 12-team playoff that he thinks by the end of the year is going to happen. So, John?
So obviously this will shake up a little bit once the conference championships and stuff happen. But for right now, I got a clear-cut number 1 in Oregon. They've looked dominant. Nobody's stopped them. Their offense is ridiculous. Their defense is playing at top 10, top 5 level in the country right now. At number 2, I got Ohio State. I just think Ohio State, I mean, it's hard to say. They didn't look great at Oregon, and they lost by 1 point. Made a lot of mistakes. So I got Ohio State at 1 or at 2, Oregon at 1. I got Georgia at 3. The thing about Georgia, though, is, we talked about them earlier, but the thing to me isn't the turnovers or anything. It's that I don't think they have an identity. I don't think they know if they want to be a passing team or a running team. They got a great running back. Trevor Etienne's great. So I'm going to keep Georgia at 3. I got Texas at 4. They lost 1 game.
You think Arch Manning is going to be able to stay in that 4 spot?
I'd like to say yes. I think Arch Manning's a baller. I think he's a freak athlete. I think his versatility, being able to, he's got playmakers all over the field. He's got Isaiah Bond. They got a good run game. They got a very better defense than they used to have. Their defense is pretty good. So I think Texas is going to be right there in the end. But in the SEC, there's going to be some teams with 2 losses that are going to be on the bubble of this playoffs. So 5, I got Miami. I don't like having Miami there, but right now, I mean, they're 5th, and it's hard to debate that. They're undefeated. They've won some sloppy games. My only question is, how many times can Cam Ward save them? I mean, he's just had to come from behind, double digits to come from behind. I mean, they were trailing to a very subpar Duke team by 11 in the 3rd quarter yesterday. And Cam Ward saves them again. That defense, I just don't know if it's good enough to win a national championship. But for right now, they're undefeated, and they've passed the eye test, so I got them at number 5. This might shock a lot of people, but I got Notre Dame at 6.
Bang!
I know that'll make you boys happy. I think Notre Dame is just, ever since that loss to Northern Illinois, they've just absolutely looked dominant. They've looked like Notre Dame football. We'll find out. They really shocked me with that Navy blowout. Navy looked good all year, and Notre Dame absolutely punished them, and that was good to see for my Irish fans over there.
That's right, baby.
Mm-hmm. I got Tennessee at 7. Tennessee, they definitely it's questionable because it's weird because their defense is winning them games, and that's not how it's always been. And Tennessee with a good defense, they got Nico, and Nico has been he started off the year very hot, and he's cooled off a little bit, but I think Tennessee's another SEC team that's going to be there in the end. Tough, physical. They're not just showtime, air the ball out anymore. They got a good run game, so I got them at 7. I got the Hoosiers at 8. Hoosiers. Indiana dominant, just dominance. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Maybe they haven't played a great team yet, but they're dominating very average teams and teams that have given good teams close games. They're just dominating them. So, I mean, it's hard to not like the Hoosiers. It's hard to not love what they're doing up there in Indiana. So I got them at 8. I got BYU at 9. Another team that they're undefeated. I mean, they're undefeated. They've won a lot of close games. The one game that really stood out to me was they were at home. Oklahoma State had them on the ropes. And BYU just goes down, no timeouts, 35 seconds, and just unflappable. And to me, that's what winning culture is. They got a decent quarterback, a great run game, and their defense is going to keep them in any football game they play in.
I like it.
At number 10, I got Penn State. I got Penn State dropping at number 10. The one loss, I know that they dropped 7 spots, but I mean that was their game. That was the one that they needed to win to get over the hump.
They're a good football team. They deserve to be in. You know that one loss to Ohio State shouldn't change anything majorly. Especially, I mean, 3 versus 4. I don't think that pushes them back too much. But
at number 11, I got Boise State.
Ashton Jeanty.
Heisman.
Ashton Jeanty. The boys are balling up there. You know, Ashton Jeanty, Heisman favorite. Cam Ward's probably getting right up on him, but that team, man, they're rolling. Huge win last week against UNLV. That was a great game. I don't know if you guys watched, but that was an awesome game. Boise State for real. Lost by 3 on the road in Eugene. Boise State is legit. And at number 12, I got Alabama with
Wow.
I got them. I got Alabama with 2 losses. You know, it's Alabama. The College Football Playoff Committee has always been a name like Alabama getting in over Florida State last year. It's Alabama at the end of the day. They're going to figure it out. We got to see. It's a new era in Tuscaloosa, so give them time. But they win out. And they got 2 losses. Don't be surprised if they sneak in that 10 or 11 spot.
So, Mackie, Johnny's obviously been drinking tonight to put Alabama at the 12 spot. I'm in disagreement with him. What are your thoughts on Johnny having the roll tide at the 12 spot?
It's fine for now, in my opinion. I don't really see an issue with it, but if they don't beat LSU, they are eliminated for sure. So you can keep them there now. We can have the same conversation in 7 days.
I like that. DP, do you want to have any comments on Johnny's rankings?
Yeah, I don't mind him. I know, and when it comes to the 12-team playoff, it would come down to, number 6 versus 11 here for Notre Dame versus Boise State in Johnny's rankings. Yes, we would host a home game, but Ashton Jeanty is him, man. I mean, I think he should win the Heisman Trophy. I don't care that they're playing certain teams that other teams aren't, but at one point he had more total points than the entire Florida State team has. I mean, yes, Florida State might be the worst college football team in the country this year, but Ashton Jeanty is him. That's something that I don't want Notre Dame to have to defend. Yes, we are at home, but that kid's an absolute stud.
Ashton Jeanty is him. Travis Hunter. But we are going to be making a shift into my favorite sport to watch. Today we're going to be going into college basketball. We're going to be breaking down the ACC conference and ultimately kind of picking our dark horse of who we think is going to win that conference. I personally will not be taking the favorite of either North Carolina or Duke, but somebody probably will. Mac, do you want to lead us off with that ACC breakdown? Yeah,
so obviously college basketball will start up tomorrow night, first big Monday of the year, so national holiday for me. Few good games tomorrow, a few good matchups, but ACC-wise, I mean, obviously Duke is your heavy favorite, and this is a little bit of a shift for the ACC. You're adding some extra teams into the mix here, and this is the most storied conference in college basketball history, without a doubt. You've got Duke, obviously the favorite, Carolina second. I don't think there should be any surprises there. But you've also got some underlying teams here that have a lot to show and a lot to prove. Is there anyone you guys are looking at in particular as dark horses?
Would you like to go, or do you want me to take it?
No, yeah, it's fine. I love my Irish. Coach Drew's got these guys rolling now. I think we could be a dark horse team in the ACC. I don't know if we can win it. Obviously, Duke and Carolina being so deep. But I like the Demon Deacons. They had a good showing last year. They're basically transfer portal U at this point. They got a bunch of guys from the portal. I think that they can make a deep run. Conference being a little bit down besides the top. I mean, Virginia losing their head coach. I just think that Wake Forest can take this jump. Duke's going to be tough with Flagg and company. RJ Davis is back for his 9th year of college basketball. It seems like. I'm surprised Baycott isn't still there. But I just think that the Demon Deacons can get it done. Great coach, great team. That's who I'm taking to win the ACC as a dark horse.
I love it. I think that's a great pick. Wake Forest was in a lot of my bet slips last year. Great team, but I have the winning team. That's the difference here, guys. I have found the winning team, and I haven't checked their odds yet, but I would love to go and just hammer their money line. Give me the Louisville Cardinals to go from worst to best. These guys were horrible last year. They were playing out horrible. Watching their games were miserable. But ultimately, they've made so many different adjustments. Them bringing in the new coach of Pat Kelsey from Charleston, he's proved that he's a winner. He's got a 70% win rate. I think he's 261 and 122, I believe. And this guy just knows how to win. They brought in a couple key 3 starters, in my opinion. They got the transfer from Wisconsin of Chucky. I hated watching him play basketball, being a Hoosiers fan, but he's a leader. And I think that's a lot of reasoning why Louisville was so weak last year. I don't think they had a true leader on that team, including the coaches. And I think having that true point guard, that role, he averaged about 9 points and I think 5 assists, is very important. Then they have a key transfer, which is probably going to be their main point scorer in Terrence Edwards Jr. from JMU. He averaged 17 points coming out of that high intensity offense, and he's just a high energy player. And like I said last year, Louisville was not scoring a lot of points. They went 3-17 in the conference, and I think that's going to change. And then also Javon Hadley from Colorado is going to be in that starting rotation as well. And I think with those 3 players coming in, it's obviously not their big names, maybe Hepburn, but the big name players of Cooper Flagg and stuff like that, going to Duke and stuff like that. I think that the Cardinals have a serious shot of taking this conference this year, and I think they just need to work together and let Coach Pat Kelsey lead them that way. So what do you think, John? Well, actually, breaking news.
Yes, shout out DraftKings here.
Yeah, shout out DraftKings.
The odds here for the conference winners. You're picking Louisville's 18-1.
18-1, guys. Yeah. Put 100 on it. You'd be happy by the end of the year.
VEASAN had Louisville at 15-1, so DraftKings has got them up a little bit, 18-1. Take the value there. I do like what Louisville's done. There's not going to be any denying that from me. I don't think that they're the dark horse for me. I think they're the dark horse to make the NCAA tournament because I do like what they've done. I actually think Pat Kelsey can coach, unlike Kenny Payne. But my dark horse would be Miami. They'll return Nigel Pack for his 9th year of college basketball, just like RJ. And they returned Matthew Cleveland. He's a stud as well. You got a 5-star freshman, Jalil Bethea, that I think is going to be pretty good for him. I like what they've done. Jim Larinaga finds a way to gel teams together and win. And I think that they can end up making the tournament.
Miami's 15-1 on DraftKings.
Wow. Now we're going to bring it to probably the guy that's going to bet Duke to win it all here.
Yeah. Out of those 3 that you guys talked about, I think Zach's got the most brain cells here. I don't think Notre Dame's got a chance. I think they're going to be better. They're going to be improved. I like it, though. Bet it if you want to win some money or if you want to lose some money. The Miami pick, Miami's such a sketchy team to me, Mac, because they just don't play defense. That's why it's scary. But I like the Louisville pick. And for me, the Krzyzewski era is over. The John Shire era is here. He's recruiting. Give me Duke. Duke clears. I think I don't only think Duke wins the ACC championship. I think Duke wins the national championship. They got Cooper Flagg. I mean, he could be a top 30 player in the NBA right now. He is going to be the number 1 pick next year, no questions asked. Tyrese Proctor's back, boys. Tyrese Proctor's, he's tough. He 3-and-D type of guy. He can get to the rim. The Cameron Crazies are going to be happy this year. They got a few freshmen. Obviously Cooper Flagg, but that Malawak kid, he played in the Olympics this year for South Sudan. So he just got experience playing against Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. So look for him to shine. I think he might start at center. Another guy that they brought in, Mason Gillis from Purdue. Another guy who's been in college basketball for DUI.
That's right. Yeah.
Another guy.
Don't drink and drive, guys.
Do not. Don't be guiltless.
Another guy that's just been in college basketball forever. But he was one guy at Purdue that I liked. Gritty, tough, lot of experience that he's going to take over there with those young guys at Duke. And then they got Isaiah Evans, the freshman from Montverde. He's a guard. He's tough. I look for this young core with a little bit of experience getting Gillis, Tyrese Proctor. And I look for Shire to really just finally get the Cam and Crazy and get this Duke program back on track and finally get back to the Final Four and just make a push for a national championship. And I really think their only competition in the ACC is North Carolina because somehow these guys are getting 7-8 years of eligibility, and I just don't understand it. So give me Duke, not close.
Let me throw this out there again and break down the ACC as a whole. This conference, once again, is not going to be very good. You're going to see teams with 13 and 14 conference wins that are right on the NCAA bubble firmly. And that's because top to bottom, I think there's just too many teams in the conference and there's not enough good quality wins out there on the resume. They've really dropped in quality. The ACC as a whole, it just seems like it's Carolina, Duke, and Miami every single year. Syracuse, once again, I don't think they'll be good. Virginia obviously just lost Tony Bennett. I didn't think they were going to be very good anyways.
To add on to that, Mackie, if you don't mind, I think that I know they lost 4 of their 5 best scorers, but I think potentially, obviously a legend coach for Virginia, and he's one of them. What, two national titles, right? 2, correct? One.
Yeah.
And a loss to UMBC.
And a loss. Yeah, but I think that maybe change is good for programs. You know what I mean? And I think that I'm not saying this is potentially going to be an upgrade or a good thing, but I think maybe moving on is maybe going to be considered the right thing and maybe giving a new look of different mindset of coaching style and stuff like that. So that's just my input on it. I don't know. I could be totally
wrong. To chime in on that, this day and age, with how good these guys are getting and just the training that they're getting and how talented they are coming in, the way Virginia just was playing offense with Tony Bennett and just straight defensive team, in this new era and this paying these guys and stuff, it's just going to be tough for them. It would have been tough for them to win games to keep playing that style of basketball. And It was hard to watch, too, I'll be honest. But Tony Bennett, legend, Hall of Fame career, great coach.
Yeah. Grand scheme of things, I think you guys are 100% correct. The change will be very good in the future, but I think this year he screwed them entirely over. You can't do that 2 weeks before the season starts. I see no way, shape, or form that they're a good basketball team this year.
Oh, I agree. You got anything to add on to that, kid?
Yeah, it's just a day and age of college basketball. At the end of the year, there will be 5,000 kids that are in the transfer portal. And if Virginia's not playing, how they used to play, where you take the under every time that they play because they're going to score 15 points in the first half. If they get a change in culture where they're, running and gunning, shooting threes, high-tempo offense, you'll get transfers. It's still Virginia at the end of the day. They still have NIL. They still will be able to get players. There's going to be, like I said, 5,000 kids enter the portal. People are going to go there. It's all just a big money grab, at the end of the day for all these conferences. Who can dish out the most money? Who can get which player? So it might take a couple years, but it wouldn't shock me if Virginia would be back in a couple years.
Yeah. So I think are we ready to transition to the NBA, gentlemen?
I'll throw one more thing in on the ACC. There's a certain team that's a dark horse, but I don't think they'll win the conference, but I think they have an outside shot to get an 11 seed or first four in the tournament. That's the Cal Golden Bears. First year in the ACC, brought in some good transfers, and I think Mark Madsen's a good coach coming in from Utah Valley. I am excited to see how they play this year.
Wow, you can get them at 100 to 1.
100 to 1,
100 to 1 there, Mac.
To win the ACC.
They're not going to win the conference, but I think they'll win some games. You guys will be a little surprised.
What is
Cal Golden Bears?
Jalen Brown going back for an alumni season? That's the only way the Golden Bears have a chance of this ACC tournament.
They're in the bottom three.
Second year. Mark Madsen went 13-19 last year, and they showed drastic improvement.
Yeah, I like it. Hey,
they'll be an outside shot this year.
Hey, I'm all for underdogs. You know, I'm all for underdogs. But we're going to transition into the NBA, actually. Shout out Modelo, my drink at NBA, the United Center. Thank you. But Johnny's our big NBA guy, loves Curry, but we told him that he's not allowed to talk about Curry today. So we're going to be giving you guys 3 games that we're going to give you a preview of. John?
So we're going to be talking about the Pacers and Mavericks. Interesting game. Hornets play the T-Wolves. That's going to be an interesting game. I look for that Hornets team. They're young. They got a good young core. LaMelo Ball is averaging 30.2 points a game right now.
Gross.
And then the last one we're going to be talking about is the Bucks Cavs. Cavs are playing great basketball, and the Bucks just, it's time to start wondering how long Giannis is going to be there. So we'll go ahead and let's start with Pacers Mavs. DP, you want to kind of talk about that game a little bit and see what's been going on with the Pacers?
Yeah, I just think that something's got to be wrong with Tyrese Halliburton. Like, his performance, he's having 14, 4.5, and 7. I expected him to almost average a triple-double this year. I don't know if it's his shooting. I've been looking at some of these box scores, and his 3-point percentage is just going down.
Let me throw in on that a little bit. He's shooting 33% from the field. They're 2-4. One of those wins is against the best team in the NBA in the Celtics, but they were up 25 in that game and almost lost. Without Pascal Siakam, you're looking at a 1-5 start from a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Yeah. It's getting scary. Being a kid from Indiana, it's always fun watching the Pacers play, and they got an electric style of basketball. But, you got to start playing some defense, or it could be a really ugly year for the boys from Indiana.
I just think that he might be just a little bit distracted right now. Not that I think that necessarily like social media and stuff like that is a big influence on how you play and stuff like that, but I know he recently just got out of a long relationship, and I think he might just be distracted, if that makes sense, guys, because this productivity out of Tyrese Halliburton is just not good enough for him to potentially be labeled a superstar, and I think that's what the Pacers were doing when they traded with the Sacramento Kings. They were looking for a superstar, and 14, 7, and 4, you said? Mm-hmm. That's just not good enough.
7 and 4.
That's just not good enough. I don't know how much he's getting paid, but this Pacers team was looking for a face of the franchise player, and I don't think he's getting the respect, nor do I think he should. Mac, what do you think on that?
I am not concerned at all. Just to correct TJP, they're 2-4, not 1-5. Doesn't make much of a difference.
No, I said 2-4. I said without a Pascal Siakam miracle, they would probably be 1-5.
Okay.
Because of that Celtics game.
That was my bad. Doesn't make much of a difference. Still a hideous start no matter what. But I'm not really concerned yet. We're 6 games into an 82-game season. I'm going to give it about 25 games before I make any sort of claim about Tyrese Halliburton being overrated or being a fraud or anything like that. I've seen the guy do it on the big stage. He's a stud. He'll figure it out. And to piggyback on what Zach said, I think a distraction could be a big part of it. Or it could just be a slow start, struggles. Who knows? But I think we give it more games. Give it more time here.
The reason I threw that game in there is because they're facing a very good Mavericks team, and that Mavericks team, Luka and Kyrie, and they're adding Klay Thompson. So I just think it's an interesting game. This Mavericks team starting to gel together a little bit, getting comfortable with Klay, and the Pacers are trying to figure it out. So I think it's a very interesting game to look at this week.
Yeah, being a Warriors fan, usually Klay would start off a little bit slow. He's shooting 39% from 3 already. Do you think that has a deal with playing with Luka and Kyrie? He feels more free out there playing with those two, that he's just aptitude to shoot more, and that's allowing him to just free flow and play better.
Here's what I'm going to say on the whole Klay Thompson topic. I think his time in San Francisco playing for Golden State was over. I think after those injuries, he came back. They got one more championship. I think after that, they started benching him in big moments. They would have him coming off the bench and stuff. And, I love Klay Thompson. I always will. He's got 4 rings for the Warriors. He will never win one in Dallas. They will not win a ring. But I think his time was up there. I think between the front office and Steve Kerr, I think he was done. I think the only thing that was keeping him there was Curry. And I know that you guys are like, oh, I love Curry, but Curry was the only one that was keeping Klay Thompson even remotely happy in San Francisco.
And I agree with you. I really do. I think from an outsider perspective, everyone knew that his time was done. And obviously when you build that bond with someone of winning championships, you want to keep them. It's just like your right-hand man in that situation. The Splash Bros, growing up, we were like 16, 17 watching these guys. And it was awesome. It really was. I didn't like the Warriors at all, but watching these guys just hit threes in the new era, Curry changing the game, it was awesome. It's just every shot that he put up, I felt like was going in the hoop. And their chemistry was great, but it was sad. I was sad watching Klay Thompson have to leave the Warriors. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think that he is enjoying his time with the Mavericks. It's hard not to with 2 future Hall of Fame guards, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But in my opinion, I think the Mavericks, I don't know what the line is on that game, but I got the Mavericks winning probably pretty easily. I don't think that the Pacers don't play defense. They're like Swiss cheese out there. And I think Luka Doncic is probably going to have 35, 10, and 10. It won't be pretty at all. But so heading into the T-Wolves and Hornets game, I mean, the Timberwolves have Jordan's son. Can we realize that? Anthony Edwards is a dog. Let me say this again. Anthony Edwards is an absolute dog. There's no one in the NBA that has the mentality of this man, and he is a pure winner. He's averaging 28 points, and what are his other stats? 28 what? What's he doing?
28.3 points, about 6 rebounds, and 3.5 assists.
This guy hates losing. You see him post game and stuff like that, and I swear he's all business. Like off camera, like not post game or anything like that. He's silly too. Like he's got a personality to him, but on the court he is a pure bulldog, man. This guy wants to be there. He wants to win, and he expresses himself, and I really like that. And as the GOAT, Michael Jordan, I have seen highlights. Obviously, not old enough to watch the GOAT, but the debate's not a debate. Michael Jordan over LeBron. I'll just stop that there. But Anthony Edwards.
Kobe over both of them.
John's an idiot. Anthony Edwards is, in my opinion, if I needed a guy to win a basketball game other than LeBron right now, I know he's old, but give me LeBron to win a game. But Anthony Edwards, in my opinion, is a difference maker, and I think that he is a top 5 player in the NBA. Mac, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, he's a stud. I've watched a handful of Timberwolves games this year so far just because I wanted to see how they played with Randall in there instead of Cat. I think that actually is going to end up being a lateral move for both teams. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Minnesota will be just as good with Randall in there instead of Karl Anthony Towns. As for this game tomorrow night, I don't really see it being very interesting. I think Minnesota is going to hit their stride and put up about 125, win by 15 or more. But I do agree with John in the sense that the Hornets are very young and they're pretty exciting to watch. Brandon Miller's pretty good, even though he's off to a slow-ish kind of start. Obviously, LaMelo's having his best season so far through 5 or 6 games, right?
Yeah. Trey Mann's a lot of the reason that I brought this game up. He's playing great for the Hornets. He's looked very good lately. And the Hornets announcer is electric. So you guys listening, if you ever get a chance to watch the Hornets broadcast, it's absolutely must-see TV because this guy gets fired up for free throws.
Make sure there's audio for that game.
Tune in.
Yeah, seriously. This guy's awesome. This guy's awesome. Bridges! I mean, he's electric.
And I got a question for you guys. I know Anthony Edwards, great. He's awesome. He's very young. He's a superstar. Actually, we saw Target Center last night, and that was awesome. So, but with Anthony Edwards, my question to you guys is: do you think that he can hurt his team by when they get in trouble, he does not look to pass the ball at all. Do you think that is going to get in the way of the Timberwolves' success this year, or do you think that it'll honestly pan out in a good way for him?
I think he'll be just fine.
Go ahead, Mac.
Oh, that's all he had to say. He thinks they're fine here.
I'll say
What do
this.
you guys think?
I'll say this. I think he'll be just fine. I'd rather the ball be in his hands in that situation because a lot of times they're, especially on the Knicks, they just give the ball to Randall and he'd chuck up some dumb shot. That guy, I think Randall's a very good player, but he's a certified chucker for sure. So keep the ball out of his hands in those situations and put it in Ant's hands, please.
What do you think, DP?
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying, GOAT does GOAT stuff. So have the ball in his hands, let him go to work, let him do what he needs to do. And I agree with Mac. I mean, Tim Rules will be just fine. Let him average 30, and you're going to win games.
Right.
And they got role players, though. They got guys. Dante DiVincenzo can hit big shots. He proved that last year in the playoffs. Julius Randle, he's an all-star. He's got other guys around him, and I just think that down the stretch of games, sometimes I think when they get in trouble that he just starts forcing the ball and he takes some bad shots. But I do agree he's great. The next Jordan might be a little bit of a stretch, but, this era is ending. This NBA era is ending. KD, LeBron, Curry, they're all going to retire here very soon. And we need a young superstar to keep the NBA afloat. And I think Anthony Edwards is probably your guy. He's young. He's athletic. He's entertaining. He's fun to watch. And, he kind of has got that AI feel to him to me. He's got that swagger, like him ordering McDonald's on DoorDash in a post-game interview. Like, he's just got that will to be great, but at the same time make it look easy, which is pretty impressive.
And just to clarify, I wasn't calling Anthony Edwards the GOAT for all of you guys that hopefully watch. I was saying that he is probably Jordan's son because of his mentality and his attitude. But to wrap things up here, guys, we're going to be heading into Mackey's segment of the show. It's going to be called The Low Line Hanging Fruit. Mac, you want to take us away with that?
Yeah, so basically what this segment is a lot of people, when it comes to sports betting, don't realize the amount of value you can get in tying your money up 4 or 5 days on an early line and betting it early because the number will get bet down. You can grab it early, you can get insane value, and a lot of people just wait till the day of or a couple hours before the game, and they'll end up betting a different number than what it opened at, and you'll get trapped. So looking at this, so far for college football next weekend, we have 2 games I would like to highlight. You've got Colorado opening -3.5 at Texas Tech. Now, Colorado's exceeded everyone's expectations this year. I think we all expect them to be another 3 or 4 win team, and they've put that to bed. They're 6-2, going bowling at least, and they're still right in the Big 12 race. But if you look at Texas Tech, they just went on the road to Ames and knocked out Iowa State. I watched that entire game. Great football game. We can talk about that at a later date when it comes to Iowa State. But 3.5, they're getting 3.5 at home against Colorado when they just knocked off a better Iowa State team on the road. And it's going to be an offensive football game, but Texas Tech can run the football a lot better than Colorado can. Give me Texas Tech at home to cover that 3.5.
So going off what Mackie just said, this is actually a very important topic because we have somebody of the 4 that just love the Buffaloes and is brainwashed by Deion Sanders. And I would just like to get his thoughts on the Buffaloes being favored -3.5 at Texas Tech. So everyone knows who I'm talking to, so just start talking, buddy.
I do like where Mackey's head at. I think that he's got a great point as in getting lines early. But I think that this is a game that honestly, if Texas Tech would have lost yesterday, I think that's got a lot to do with it. It's a big letdown spot. Colorado's coming off of a bye. Colorado's much improved. They've gotten better and better as the season goes on. And let's be real, boys, the Big 12 Conference is still wide open. Colorado's got a decently easy schedule the rest of the way. I find it hard to believe that they're going to lose this Texas Tech game. Shadur Sanders he's not even on the Heisman watch list, and I don't know how. He's an absolute stud, throwing for over 300 yards a game. Travis Hunter doing it both ways. I know that you guys aren't big on Colorado, but what he's doing is special. You haven't seen it in a long time, and he's doing he's playing both sides of the ball at very elite levels. I think that running game has gotten going a little bit. They're starting to run the ball a little better, and that defense last year, they couldn't stop anything. All of a sudden, they're starting to learn how to play football a little bit. Warren Sapp is over there coaching them up. Dion's got those boys believing and rolling, and he ain't hard to find. So I personally will be on Colorado in that game, but I do 100% agree with Mackey on jumping on spreads early because it's important to be smart with your money and don't be like me.
Yeah, that's music to my ears at that point. Thanks, Kurt.
I mean, I'm going to hand this over to DP. DP, I'm just wondering, in like a coaching perspective, because you got your coach right now for high school in the region. You were a college coach for a year. I would like to know, like, from your perspective, what do you think was the biggest change for Colorado to make them successful?
Yeah, John, by the way, Shedur's 35 to 1 to win the Heisman if you want to lock that in right now.
35 to 1, it ain't worth it. I think JT's got it locked up. Him or Cam Ward, it's a two-man race at this point.
Yeah, from a coaching perspective, I mean, let's talk about the players that they bring in. They go to the portal, they do all their recruiting and stuff like that with Dion. And I mean, that's a big selling point. I mean, you can see that they throw the ball 50 times a game almost. It seems like, they kind of almost just abandon the run at this point after losing their running back. So,
right.
It's an offense that you want to play in, goes back to the same thing if you want to play, Miami currently, Old Miss with Lane, they're just going to chuck the ball on the field. And being able to have that mindset that you'll be able to throw the ball that much, your receivers get the catches, you get the yards. It's all about stats, style points with them especially.
Right.
Just being able to go off that, you're going to get the players. Yes, it does have an impact. And, he's not doing what Carson Beck's doing. He's not turning the ball over as much. And they're still throwing the ball that much. I wouldn't say I'm a Colorado hater. I just don't like some of the stuff that goes on. But Shedur is a great player. I think he bodes well in that offense. I don't like some of the antics that he has as a coach. Him going to the NFL could be a problem with throwing his players under the bus in post-game interviews and stuff of that nature. But then again, he has his dad there with him. So it's kind of up to him and what he wants to do. But from a coaching perspective, it's a good offense to be in if you want to have that.
In my opinion, it's a dream scenario for the offensive coordinator and quarterback's coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shedur, like DP just said, I think Shedur Sanders is he's unreal. I watch a lot of their games, and just the throws he makes are just great. I mean,
they're NFL throws.
On the run, he's throwing it 40-plus yards, and he's just putting it right in the breadbasket. I mean, I just think that this kid is talented. He's got legs, too. I know he doesn't prefer using them because why would you when you have an arm like him? He's accurate. He's got a cannon, and he's got that gene from his father of just wanting to win. And I think, I'm with Mackey. I think I'm going to take Texas Tech at plus 3.5. But I would not be surprised if the Buffaloes won this game just because of the fact that this Colorado team is different, and Shedur Sanders is a winner. So, Mac, do you have another pick? Oh, sorry, John.
Yeah. I'll throw one more quick one at you here, unless John has something else to add.
Yeah, I was just going to add, it's a lot more than Shedur and Travis Hunter. They got weapons all over the field. LaJohntay Webster, he's a stud. He's been balling. Jimmy Horn. They got some very good receivers in Colorado, guys that have transferred in and were 1,000-yard receivers at other schools. So I think that's the biggest thing with Colorado, and I'll wrap this up with them. But Shedur's giving them all chances to make plays. And who he reminds me a lot of C.J. Stroud. Great arm talent, tries to stay in the pocket as much as he can, doesn't like to run the ball and likes to use his arms, even though they have very much capability to run the ball and use their legs very effectively. But I think he's going to be a great NFL talent, and I look for Colorado to keep rolling this week.
I love it.
So I'll throw one more at you. Let's talk about those daunted Indiana Hoosiers. Open up at 11.5 against Michigan at Memorial Stadium. Can we stop overplaying Michigan? They're not a good football team. I have no clue why Indiana is not at least minus 13.5 or better in this game. I mean, like Michigan has no offense. Their defense hasn't even been that great, even though everyone claims it's so good and it's going to win them all these games. You can give me the Hoosiers. I'll lay the 11.5. Lay it early because I guarantee you it jumps to 13.5 and beyond before the end of the week. 94% of the handle, 84% of the bets. Shout out to VC sponsor us. They're on the Hoosiers early.
So listen, I was in the gym that day with my buddy Johnny, and we heard what Kurt Signetti had to say at halftime of that basketball game. Ohio State sucks, Michigan sucks, and so does Purdue. These last couple games here, we got all three of them. So I'm tired of thinking that. I mean, I personally didn't think the Hoosiers were going to be this good, and I didn't. But the Hoosiers are hammering teams. It's not close. They're hammering them. These Michigan Wolverines suck. Jim Harbaugh, they need you back, bud, because they suck. Give me the Hoosiers minus 11.5.
They don't have a quarterback. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. They're on their third quarterback. Somehow this guy goes from the first string to the third string. They try the Alex Orji experiment. This team's a mess. They have a few NFL players, but it's a disaster in Ann Arbor. They got 4 good players to me. I mean, they got Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. Their defensive tackles are great, but they can't play every snap. Donovan Edwards, he's good, and then Colston Loveland. But outside of those 4 guys, what does Michigan have? Will Johnson in the corner. He was going to be a lottery pick. He's kind of having a down year. Just a lot of question marks in Michigan. I think IU wins this game by 20+.
What do you think, DP?
That's what happens when you lose Connor Stallions. You start losing ball games. But for the IU point, Mr. Rourke is now 6th on the Heisman list at plus 2,200. 22 to 1 for him to win the Heisman. I mean, the Hoosiers just keep winning, man. They're going to have that place rolling. Michigan sucks. Everyone on this podcast hates them. So it's just, I don't see a point where they win the game. IU's defense is going to be too much for them on offense. Their offense should be able to pick them apart with ease. Dylan Gabriel looked easy out there throwing the ball versus Michigan last night. So I just think the Hoosiers win big. I'm with Johnny. I'll spread them 20+.
Yeah, look into that camera, Zach, and tell our viewers that we'll hopefully see this soon. Save their money and stop thinking Michigan's good.
Yeah, seriously, they're bad. Quit getting deceived by the past success. That's over with. It's a new era. It's the IU era, and the Wolverines suck. Mac, do you have anything else to add, or should we wrap this thing up?
There's not much more to say. I just was stunned when I looked this morning and saw they posted this lineup at 11.5. Like, I don't understand it at all. It should have been 16.5. That's where I would have put it.
Yeah.
So I have no issues betting this up to 13.5. But if I can get it at 11.5 right now, there's no reason you shouldn't get it because I promise you it goes up.
All right. Well, hey guys, hope you watch this. This is our first one. I think it went a lot better than I thought. Really did. Yeah, it's pretty much all I got. You guys want to do a little send off, or I just thank you guys for watching. Hopefully.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To finish this out, boys. I just want to say there's another line in there that Mackie, I just can't believe when I saw it. The Bucks are +9 tomorrow against the Chiefs. Chiefs have been in a lot of one possession games this year. They've played a lot of bad teams, and bad teams have played them close. Patrick Mahomes has not looked like Patrick Mahomes. This defense is winning them games. I like the Bucks tomorrow night to keep this game close.
In Baker,
let me try to verify this on you, John. But I think the Chiefs opened 7.5. That's been actually bet up to 9. So I think the sharp money is all on Kansas City.
Sweet.
But I can see your sense of it there. What you're saying about the one possession games.
Yeah, I look at that game as a very big trap game for the Chiefs. Baker Mayfield's going to throw the ball 50 times. It doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to. Look for Cade Otton to play well, Baker Mayfield to play well, and I think the Bucks cover that spread.
Plus 350 on the money line, John. Bucks.
Yeah, I'll be sprinkling on that for sure.
We love Baker. And we love the NFL, guys. I mean, we bleed the NFL. Bears fans here and 2 Colts fans on the Zoom here. But
Speaking of that, let's close this with one more brief conversation. We've got some breaking news.
What is it?
So apparently teams are calling the Colts inquiring about Anthony Richardson. They're saying they view him as a franchise player still, and the Colts pulling the plug on him 10 games in was premature and dumb, which it was, no matter what John tries to say. But anything you guys would like to add on that so we can get one little brief NFL segment in here?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'll take this over, John. I would love to talk about Anthony Richardson. He sucks, okay? He is an athletic freak that can sling the ball to kids at recess playing 500. This guy has no accuracy, and he can't even throw a 7-yard slant route. This guy is not good. I respect him for being so mobile and such an athlete that he is, but he doesn't have the mindset to stay in the pocket, to find his receivers, and have the timing of an elite quarterback. Do I think he can get worked on? I do. I think he can get worked on potentially being a good quarterback in the league, but this will never be a franchise quarterback, in my opinion.
I mean, I would say on my end here, I know stupid games win stupid prizes, and I hate when people use this comparison, but the comparisons between him and Josh Allen are almost dead even at this point compared to Allen's rookie year. Like, why did the Colts give up after 10 games, and why are we saying that he absolutely sucks after 10 games when he's had 3 or 4 very good games mixed in with 4 or 5 bad ones? It's up and downs of a 22-year-old quarterback. Being
a diehard Colts fan, I'm out here in Minnesota, Sunday Night Football tonight. Colts Vikings, pumped up, can't wait. We get to see Daddy Joe. I think for right now, if they want to be a playoff team at all, if they even want a chance at the playoffs, they got a brutal schedule coming up. They play Buffalo, they play the Lions. They're in Minnesota tonight. I think Joe Flacco is the right answer to keep them in games right now. Anthony Richardson, I don't think it's time to wave the red flag. I don't think it's time to give up on him at all. But sit him down for the rest of the season unless you're at a 4-8 record or 5 and you're just out and you can't make the playoffs. Put it back in there. Let him get experience. Guys, he's played 15 games in the last 4 years of football. He's young. He's a freak athlete. He's got a great arm. If he can learn to make the intermediate throws, he could be a franchise quarterback. But boy, do I hope it's not in Indianapolis.
What do you think? Man, it's so downright frustrating. I'll add on to this because if you're going to be like, oh, we have a shot to make the playoffs, we can contend. We're going to bench him. Joe gives us the best shot. Why was he not benched before the game against Houston that decides your fate in the division? You'd be playing for the division lead tonight. What an embarrassment from my franchise. I am disappointed in what they did this week.
And is it just me or watching that Texans-Colts game, just the Colts didn't seem like they wanted it. They didn't realize that they were playing for a division lead. They weren't battling. They weren't trying. It hardly looked like their offense cared to be out there. And you're a starting quarterback tapping yourself out of the game, man. I really think that is the reason that he's not starting tonight.
I think the tap out should have been 1-game suspension. I think they should have literally came out and said to the public, he's sitting out because that's unacceptable. He's not playing tonight on Sunday Night Football in prime time. But nope, they went out there and vowed to sit him for the rest of the year because they think they can contend, and that's just a joke.
Fire Ballard, go Colts, and let's wrap this up.
DP's got something to add here. DP's got something to add real quick.
Yeah, Johnny and Mac just said it. That's my only gripe with AR. The tapping out of the game, you just can't do that, man. You're the starting quarterback of your NFL franchise. They look to you as the face, and you're going to tap out and come out of the game. That's just.
And even if you do it, you can't go out and say it. You double down on it.
Yeah. Right. So I'm with John here, and Flack Daddy we trust for the Colts. Let's see what they do tonight, John.
Yeah, pumped up, man. Can't wait. Gonna be awesome.
Shout out Tyler, the editor. Come here, Tyler. We definitely went over our time, and I appreciate him being with us and bearing with us. But first episode with the Beanie Boys, I think it went good, and a little send off. I had a great time. I think it was a good episode. What do you think?
Yeah, the boys are back, man. The Beanie Boys are here.
The Beanie Boys are here.
Yeah,
hey, have fun at the game tonight, buddy. And Mackie, keep drinking some more bourbon out there for us, all right?
Yeah, well, I'm about to switch to Budweiser's and grab my seat on the couch. Let's cash some tickets, boys.
Let's
Hey,
do it.
cheers.
All right, guys.
Cheers, guys. Take it easy.
Hey, have a good one.
See ya.